welcome to Phyllis, the Schlafly Show, the show where we drag Phyllis Schlafly for filth and also talk about things we liked. I'm Liz Winstead, and as always, joining me are my co-hosts, Moji Olawadell, Molly Gaby,
cheers,
and our delightful guest, badass feminist, national affairs correspondent at The Nation, CNN political contributor, drunk of all trades, Joan Walsh. Joan!
Hi, this is so fun.
Like the first thing we like to do is talk about what the cocktail of the show is. This week, because we're focusing on the transition from Republicans that were actually fuckable into the Reagan Republicans, the drink cocktail is called the Harvey Bible Banger. Hello, the Harvey Bible Banger. It is basically cranberry juice in vodka, which turns it to wine. And then I also have the Body of Christ, which I feel like is a good side dish right there.
Oh, yes.
I know.
It's went a little big on that.
I know. I'm also sort of drinking
a
little bit like Lottie, and so she would never drink that, or nor would she ever concede the Body of Christ. So, Boris. Before we kick off, too, I just want to remind you that the Schlafly Show is also a podcast, and we've decided that during the time that we're doing the Schlafly Show, we're going to just put the Feminist Sleeper Cell podcast on hiatus, and we're going to instead have you enjoy some extras about the Schlafly Show and have the Schlafly Show podcast, which will drop on Mondays, be your guide. But we'll be back in June with our regular scheduled Feminist Sleeper Cell. So this is the episode that sort of changed a whole lot of trajectory from the feminists having the moving forward to the anti-feminists sort of gaining momentum. And basically the thing that I was slammed over the head with was it didn't matter who the woman was or what she believed. They were constantly believing that the men in their lives were going to support them in their decisions. How the hell did they ever think that was going to be the case?
Jill.
Congressman.
Excuse me.
I'm used to suffering for the cause.
I don't know, but they did. And, and they're all just so used to being patted and prodded and, condescended to. And everybody, on both sides makes their peace with it. And it's pretty sickening. I mean, we have come a long way when you look at it that way, when you see it. And I'm almost old enough to really remember that. And it looks real to me. That's the way it was.
Yeah, I just feel for them. Like I'm trying to put myself in their shoes. Like if they've never seen anything different work, can they even imagine a different paradigm, a different world in which to go outside? I mean, burn it down. I think that was relatively new then, right?
Right.
But nobody had really burned it down yet. So my heart goes out to them a little bit,
Well, yeah. I mean, but Shirley can. Shirley can.
We can't burn it down.
I said this, I think, throughout. I was just like, wow, Shirley stays like on it, and Shirley keeps a vision, and Shirley is like, she sees what's happening and she is like, no, you guys are wrong. And you know what? She's screaming into the void.
Nothing is going to change unless there is a public reckoning. Even if it hurts us.
She is. She's always, she's got an eye roll even when she's not rolling her eyes, with these ladies. I just can't.
Well, and I think that when you look at this episode, right, and part of what we see is, and one of the things I really love about the show is how they really break down second wave feminism in a way that shows you heroes that were also incredibly flawed and problematic, right? And when you watch them after being sold out at the Democratic convention, still putting faith in these Democratic men, and also ignoring their dalliances, saying, well, there are guys, so we have to watch out. And that was like, ooh.
Congressmen are asking young women in job interviews if they engage in oral sex.
I feel terrible for these secretaries, I really do. But Jim Buckley spends his days dreaming up ways to reverse Roe v. Wade. I'm gonna win that Senate seat, and I'm gonna kick his ass back to Connecticut, and that's good for all women.
Yeah.
It was wild to me just watching, not just on our side, but just how quickly women would sell out other women, right? Like, my heart broke when Bella said, I feel really bad for these secretaries, but And then she went into like, oh, but my elevation is like a boon for all women. And I'm like, oh shit. Like it just broke my heart. Cause like, you know, Bella's been wrong about a lot, but for the most part, she's been portrayed as, you know, relatively great. And that just was like heartbreaking for me.
Yeah. My favorite scene of women throwing women under the bus. I'm sad that I have a favorite scene. There was just so much of it. That first scene when Jill pulls up in the car to Phyllis outside protesting Betty Ford and just gives her the death stare and is like, I see you. Says, what kind of self-respecting woman pickets the first lady of her own party? Window up, peace out. I mean, that's kind of the theme of Phyllis's life, throwing women under the bus. The bus has to be so big. There's so many women under it at this point.
Well, and that's one thing I wanted to ask you, Joan, is so the episode's called Jill, right? And it's about Jill Ruckleshaus, who was a Republican who was married to a very, very powerful Republican man and she was also somebody who was dedicated to fighting for the ERA. And she watched Phyllis Schlafly try to become this voice of the party. And that scene that we were just talking about where she pulls up and she literally was like, look, bitch, see me? Yeah. I'm the party, right? And
I'm being driven around and yeah.
And I just would love for you, Joan, to talk a little bit about like Republican women when it came to issues of equality, that Republican women and Democratic women or liberal women could work together. Like talk about the politics of that time with women and just in general.
Well, I mean, the National Women's Political Caucus was founded as, you know, very self-consciously bipartisan and, you know, had Republican, I think Jill is a founding member. These were bipartisan issues. The Republican Party was out front on women's rights, was ahead of the Democrats. And so, you know, it's painful, but Jill definitely thinks she's the driver. And that scene just blew me away, Molly, because you just see her arrogance, frankly. And they really thought that they were on the winning track, and poor little Phyllis. So yeah, but it's true. You know, I mean, Barbara Bush supported the ERA. She was pro-choice.
Yes, she was pro-choice until she was told to shut her mouth by Reagan.
He joined the Reagan ticket. Yeah. So
that's right. And I think that like that scene went right into that living room scene where Phyllis's family is watching Jill, introduce the Woman of the Year award, and they're all praising how pretty she is and how great she is, and you just watch Phyllis full of rage.
She's not fooling anyone in those pearls.
She does have a nice smile.
And I love that they went right to that to just continue the emotion of that this into, and her family thinks that this person also is amazing.
I think that in the whole episode we can sort of look at Jill as amazing, right? Like I think that she seems pretty amazing. She's like she's leading a presidential council. We see her in early scenes when she's charming Congressman Hayes that no one else seems to be getting through to. Like there is a sort of air that she has, especially early on, of this like, you know, golden child, that she can kind of do the things for women that maybe other women can't achieve.
We can't do it without you, Congressman. You have all the clout. Consider it a gift for your young new bride.
You know, it's funny you look at it that way, Moji, because I look at it as she just found a different way to tolerate the garbage without calling men out to get what she wants. And I guess because maybe there wasn't a name for it, or how do we do it? But, you know, when she was like, let me handle it, I know how to talk to these guys. It was when the I know how to talk to these guys never was, I'm going to tell you to stop doing this, right? It was, I'm going to use some different wiles that will work. And that was, to me, it was charming, but it was also like, it's just that how it had to go, is that you never stopped the behavior. Everybody just had to figure out a way to survive in it. And that was her way to survive in it and get shit done in it.
Do you know what I had to do to get my commission funded? I had to let more than a dozen congressmen put a hand on my arm, my hip, my backside. More than a dozen demanded to see my pretty smile before they agreed to sign on. I had to say, you'd be our hero, and you have so much clout. More times than I can remember.
I mean, do not disagree. That is 100% what she was doing. I won't argue that it seemed effective, but yeah, she,
For sure.
you're right. I mean, it's true. The men were trash and she just managed to like shimmy around the trash. Whereas like Bella was like, what are you talking about? Unless they were Democratic men. Bella was like, no, this is what I want to get done. And then with her Democratic men, she was like, these are my friends.
They're friends, I know. Yeah, I wondered, I mean, did Jill come off that way because Republicans were in power at that point, you know, and so she felt like she had an in or many ins to powerful people, but she did have a way of conducting herself that was different. But I loved her so much in that episode. I really did, and you don't see that anymore.
Mm-hmm. I really agree with that. Like, I really loved her. And also, when you look at all of the women we've seen in this series, she's really the only one that could have sat down with Phyllis in the way that she did and when they had that drink. Like, Bella couldn't have done that. Shirley Chisholm never. Like, all these other women she never would have accepted the idea of sitting down and talking, you know, person to person with them.
And I love that scene because I felt like there was 900 things at play, right? The first thing that was at play was that she was going to be seen and show Phyllis that there was more than one way to be a Republican woman, right? And I think that she was shocked when she realized through talking about her own experiences every step of the way, you know, like you can see why Ann Coulter is so inspired by Phyllis Schlafly or Michelle Malkin, you know, because it's that whole like, you know what's wrong and you don't care because every single thing about it benefits you.
But don't you think those kind of women are really just inviting it?
I'm sorry?
Well, virtuous women are rarely accosted by unwelcome sexual propositions.
I think that really struck Jill that this isn't an act, like, or this is an act that she won't ever break from. She doesn't care who it hurts.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, you know, Jill's also one-upping her or trying to one-up her with the kids. I'm a mom. I can be just as wholesome and adorable as you. And, you know, none of it breaks through. None of it forms any kind of real connection.
No, none of it at all. And Phyllis can't hang from the beginning. She's trying to just banter with her. She doesn't know how to ping and to pong. You know, she says 7 more years and you're free about her kids. And then she comes back with the funny quip of motherhood is freedom, Jill. This is a person you don't want to have a beer with. But yeah, I mean, Jill really lays it out. She cuts to the heart of it because it's not, and this whole series is about it.
Wow. Your face lights up when you're talking about defense.
Oh, Phyllis wanted to be in defense, and she couldn't be because it was only for the boys. It was a men's club only. And so she had to pivot to the ERA so that she could hopefully get a far-right candidate in the White House. This is building her list and everything. It's just, she really gets to the heart of it. And I think that shakes Phyllis a little bit, but she doesn't break in the end because Jill, of course, tries to offer her a little, you know, a dove. What do you got? Offer it an olive branch.
Olive branch, I think, is the
you
phrase.
You offer people doves. Is that a thing? And she doesn't take it because she's way too far in. There's no turning back for Phyllis. She's committed to this, unfortunately, and she didn't let up till the day that she died. And it's really disturbing in the end because I wasn't sure if she truly believes this. I'd love to hear your opinions on the whole victimization and they're asking for it thing. Like, because half of it's an act. She knows what she's saying is lies about the ERA, but then she says something like this, and I'm like, holy shit.
Oh, marriage takes work, like including being beaten. Yeah, that. I don't know what she believed. I don't think I've ever made up my mind. I mean, obviously she believed in women's equality, or she believed we could be equal. She just did it on backs of the rest of us, as Jill put it, but I don't know if I've ever reached a verdict on what she truly believed.
I think how she wanted to survive is maybe more the question. What did she want her life to be? And she damn well was going to fight to make sure that happened. And as the feminist movement grew, and as it required her to actually, it's almost like, when we often talk about how, the last gasps of white men, and you see them flailing around when somebody else wants power. I feel like that was Phyllis was reacting how powerful men are reacting now to women and people of color demanding a seat in the structure, right? And as she looked at feminism and as she looked at equal rights, she didn't see a place for herself at all. And so she had to tamp it down so that she could make sure that this lifestyle that she had chosen, that she had wanted, that she decided was good, and that she needed to have value. She wasn't going to let anything get in the way of that value. And that's why it was like so interesting, because going back in the day, Joan, I'm sure you can relate to this. I grew up in Minnesota, a Catholic person in an incredibly Protestant community, a Lutheran community. And Catholicism, it was called a mixed marriage if like a Lutheran married a Catholic, right? And so for Phyllis to say, I'm going to go out and actually make friends with evangelicals and Jews and to get my power, like that is huge.
It is. It was really revolutionary. And, Protestants hated Catholics and thought, the Ku Klux Klan was against Catholics as well as Jews and Black people. So, there was this built-in bias. And the fact that the Catholics made this alliance, I mean, I'm still culturally Catholic, so that I just look at it and I'm like, these people hate you. It's sort of like the Israelis who now, who accept the Christian right. Do you know what they really want to happen to you? Think this through, guys. But yeah, I mean, she was brilliant, and that's what keeps coming through in this series.
Like for her to go to Texas and talk to good old Lottie.
Okay, let's
get into Lottie.
Lottie.
Guys, I have my rose.
Oh no, Liz!
Oh God!
Oh, it's for the unborn. It's for the unborn.
Just take it apart, Liz. That's what that's what you want to do.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay, you guys. I am a feminist. I think I'm smart. I didn't even know that Lottie existed. I had to look up Lottie.
Same.
Because, they start the show with a disclaimer that we've got some fictional folks in here to make it more interesting. And I was like, okay, Lottie's probably that.
Yeah.
So,
oh my gosh. And in my studies, I went and found her books, and they look like religious porn romance novels.
Oh,
okay.
Great.
Prolific author of supposedly Christian books. But when you take a look at the covers, I gotta say, they're clearly erotica.
I looked at these books and I was like, they sound like Lifetime movies. And so, like Daughters of Eve. That's one of her books. The Strength for Today. Choosing Life's Best. Your Deadly Best Friend. Starring Melissa Gold and Melissa Rivers. I mean, it's like, you can be beautiful or deadly.
Wild.
Just not gay.
We'll toss a link in into the comments when the show airs, because they're just your best friend, a precious privilege, a person's friendship with Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
I mean, she was no shit. She was when you think about what these two movements are like, right? Just abortion was so centered for them. Mm-hmm. And the Catholics were the people with the rosaries praying, and the evangelicals are the ones who brought the bloody ass pictures into the mix. And the Red Rose, the Catholics now have co-opted from this, Lottie Beth Hobbs, and now use it to go infiltrate clinics. And the Franciscan monks have now used it. They literally have something called the Red Rose Rescue, where they go into clinics, invade them, and chain themselves in the waiting rooms, and the FBI has to take them out. There was just one in Washington, D.C. on Wednesday of this week. It's nuts. And so this joining forces and really just centering abortion, and Lottie being so firm, and what moves my women? Emotions, and it was like, man, you are fucking scary as fuck.
Well, also, can we just talk about, and, anti-gay, the perverts?
Don't you want to see every one of those perverts and abortionists burnt at the stake? You see? It's emotional, not the head.
And when Phyllis shoots that animal, I'm like, that's John. That's John.
Interesting.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Yeah.
Woo! That is
that line when she goes, I hope you're not wearing perfume.
Yeah.
Spooks the deer.
Spooks the deer. Gay people historically have spooked deer as one of them. I've never made a friend with a deer in my life. But
they're all over my living room. I'm sorry.
But wait, I loved when Lottie rips up that rose and just the three Eagle women are like, oh, like that was so good to me.
Well, too, I felt a little bit like Lottie looked at Phyllis the way Phyllis looks at Jill.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Like, you liberal bitch coming down here with your newsletter. Do you want to know what we're talking about? Abortion, the ripping apart of the babies. And she was like going off, and Phyllis was like, yeah. And then it goes back to, it reminded me that Phyllis can really pivot. And that's how Phyllis is in charge. And there's no co-equal to Phyllis. She's never going to have an organization where people are like actually challenging her. She's like Trump in that way. But going back to that scene where the big racist from Louisiana, when they were at the meeting.
Yeah.
And then Phyllis handled it. Like, it was kind of like, I know how to handle this too. And I'm going to have to know, because this person is, for the first time, she realized this person was going to make or break the ERA.
I think that's why she came back the second time, right? Like the first visit, I think she was caught a little more flat-footed. And then she's like, I got to charm this woman, and I'm going to come back and show her that I too can shoot a deer. Not in the head.
But that we have something in common. And I think that was definitely it. And then realizing that once she joined forces also, like looking at, I think Phyllis was so excited to have, again, these evangelical women that she knew wouldn't give a fuck about defense or anything that she really wanted to do, but she knew that they are voters that would vote the way that she wanted them to vote, so that she could bring this weird power base back to the men that she was trying to get in the room with.
Right. And she's out ahead of the men. I mean, that's, Jerry Falwell wants to know how to do this. And, she's a leader.
That was one of my takes when we got to the end of this episode. I was like, oh, we don't talk about how even with the far right sort of joining politics the way they did, apparently women did that too.
Yeah.
Oh, we beat him to it. Phyllis beat Jerry Falwell to it. He takes the credit to this day. We can clearly see that she was galvanizing these ultra-conservative right-wing, formerly fringy wingnuts, who are now just the Republican base. It was sad. It just like the hubris with which Jill said,
The Reagan Revolution is going to fail, just like the Goldwater Revolution failed.
Goldwater didn't fail. He laid the groundwork.
There are more of us than there are of you.
And then by the end, it's clear that we are outnumbered by the Lotties and the deer-head gun-toting. The whole faction that they've created, it's just the beginning of the end, this episode. So
yeah, and I think watching that happen, and thinking about the fact that most people know who Jerry Falwell is, and nobody knew who Phyllis Schlafly was before this.
Yeah.
And when you think about like the sexism and hate movements, even, it's like, wow, women don't get credit anywhere.
She's the mother of them all.
You don't even get credit for hating women, okay? Women can hate women too.
The most famous woman hater. Nobody even knows her name.
Yeah.
Oh, she's
That's
very
a
proud.
in feminism.
I mean, and the second most famous, Lottie, we don't know her either. Literally, all four of us had to Google her this week.
I don't know what you guys feel like. It feels to me when I watch Jesus Christ Superstar, watching the series, it's like I love it and I'm dancing, but then you just know what's going to happen at the end. Oh, this is going to go horribly wrong. And now this episode was just that horribly wrong turning point.
That turn, exactly. Yeah, you see it coming, and you're going to watch anyway, but it gets increasingly painful.
Well, and I feel excited, and the one thing that I do feel excited about is, and I really want to tell all of my friends to watch this, is because this is an important piece of history. The fact that Phyllis Schlafly is not a household name, the fact that we don't know Lottie, the fact that we are examining an incredibly important moment in history, and that so many people, unless they're feminist scholars or studied feminist theory, know who a lot of these people are. And it's really great to, even though I know it's going to end horribly, I feel really excited to be watching it for just the incredible acting and the incredible historical value, but also that it piques my interest to dig deeper and find out more stuff.
Mm-hmm. I agree 1,000%. I feel like that's one of the things I'm getting out of this too. I'm like, I've always considered myself a feminist, and I feel like I got a great education, but I'm like, oh, this is sort of the women's history course, like that maybe I didn't take,
or that maybe wasn't offered.
I have every couple of years I yell at my mom about like a historical figure that I feel like she didn't teach me anything about, and this month it's been Shirley Chisholm.
Also Flo Kennedy. Nobody knows enough about Flo Kennedy, and I feel like somebody should do the Flo Kennedy biopic like tomorrow.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Molly's ready.
I am so ready for Flo Kennedy to be.
Pentagonorrhea. She's so funny. She's hysterical.
I just feel bad for John. Poor John is going to be sent away.
We didn't even talk about John, and we didn't talk about the confessional.
Oh my gosh, the confessional, which I think the first viewing I glossed over, and the second one I was riveted.
My son. My son is a pervert.
Yeah.
Because I think up until this point, I'm sorry, up until this point, I feel like we've been like, oh, okay, Phyllis is maybe passively accepting of her son's homosexuality, and that was the first moment we moved into like, oh shit, she's actually praying against a pervert in her house.
Yeah.
Also, so connected with her with Lottie to say, you're like, when Lottie was like, the homosexuals must be destroyed, Phyllis wasn't thinking about my poor son. She was thinking about my son's going to destroy me.
Yes.
And that was so like,
that's the difference.
I just felt like, could I take what's in your veins and put it in my glass because I'm out of ice?
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
So final thoughts. What do you think? Moji, what was your takeaway from this episode that you're looking forward to in the next one?
So this episode was incredible. And I feel like in a series that for me has been incredible, I think this is definitely one of the more exemplary ones. I love that they made me fall in love with a Republican character and really root for her. Not just because she was on my team, essentially, but also just like Elizabeth Banks did a masterful job. I can't wait to see what Bella's episode is about. I haven't watched it yet, because she has been so polarizing for me, both like pro and against and pro. And so I'm really excited about seeing what happens with that.
Awesome. Molly?
That momentum shift, I mean, I'm not looking forward to it, but I know it's coming. And I do know that it was actually Lottie's idea to go counter protest in Houston in 1977. So I know we're going to be seeing her again. So looking forward to that.
And the introduction of the fetal porn.
Yes. Oh my God. Fetal porn.
Yes.
Oh, we saw it at the RNC already, and it was exciting.
Oh, but it blows up. We're talking Astrodome level blow it up. Lottie single-handedly made Houston happen, and that's going to be literally incredible. She didn't sleep, and it, yeah. So it's going to be good. What about you, Joan? Takeaways and moving forward. What do you think?
Lottie needs her own series. I think that's what I know. I am looking forward to seeing what happens to John and which farm they send him to upstate. Johnny's going to join the circus.
He's joining the circus so he can get totally gay cured and come back and just work for his mom.
Yeah.
Which is what happens in his real life. For me, the takeaway was watching two Republican women, one out for herself and one out for the movement, instead of just having it pit against that there's some kind of democratic values and that there's some kind of Republican values, and that the value of the humanity of women, watching Jill desperately try to force her party to do that and going up against it is pretty incredible, but it just also makes me think, just like the Catholic Church, it's like, bitch, find a different church, one that wants you in it.
Yeah.
But I think we eventually did. So I'm looking forward to the Bella episode 2 and just the moving the needle and hopefully watching it from a lens of, as feminists who work as activists, really, really examining the mistakes and not making them.
Yeah.
So I think that is good. Y'all, what a great show. Joan Walsh, thank you for joining us and being part of the Phyllis Schlafly, the Schlafter show. We're so glad you were here.
It was Schlaftastic. I really enjoyed it.
I don't want to go out without saying that as we tape this, today is the birthday of the one and only Cate Blanchett. Happy birthday, Cate Blanchett. You're 51 years old, and I am so jealous of you like that. You're doing a hell of a job, sis.
Amazing.
Bye, everybody.
Abortion Access Front, fueled by cheap wine and the stench of patriarchy.